CRM User Adoption. And one couldn't ask for a more timely issue because, I've been in the business for 25 years. This is a question that is top of mind 25 years ago and 15 years ago and 5 years ago and today. So let me give you my insight, as Tracy alluded to, over the past 25 years of how do you secure the adoption that should drive, amongst other things, productivity gains, improved sales, and a bunch of other things. So let me look at these one at a time. I'm going to divide the presentation into 3 parts. First, I'd like to look at some of the key CRM risks that we all face when either working with a new CRM initiative or an existing CRM initiative or a redo of an existing CRM initiative. And as you will see, one of the key risks is securing sufficient user adoption. The second part of the presentation I'd like to look at is best practices for adopting or driving user adoption, driving high user adoption. I'll give you 6 different areas that I think are particularly important to help drive that high user adoption. And last but not least, I'm going to share with you 3 different sets of user adoption metrics from an executive perspective, from the operational perspective, and just a usage perspective. So I'll share those with you, and we'll look at how can we use metrics, or what can we learn from metrics for driving high user adoption. Okay, so let's kick it off with the first area, namely key CRM risks. And I'm going to go through the list, but the point of this is to look at the very last one, and that is this whole topic of discussion today, that is lack of user adoption, where there's either little or no what's in it for me to the ultimate end user, or to the sales manager, or to the customer service center manager, or to the marketing personnel. It's either people on the front line or they're using the system. But let me just put a couple of other risks up there because some of them relate. So you have this concept of the executive team not being on board. And that really can be a key risk. I've got a client right now that's in the manufacturing sector. It would be fair to say that the CIO is on board, and that he, in this particular case, is driving the initiative, I think, very valiantly. The sales management is reasonably on board. I think that would be a fair statement. But the executive team really hasn't bought into the overall value of that particular initiative. And so the risk is that, it proceeds below the radar, but as soon as it comes up to the radar, there isn't sufficient buy-in at the executive team level, and, it doesn't receive the funding or support that's needed. The second bullet deals with this whole area of little or no commitment to improving processes. And I've seen that in a couple of companies. We have one right now that we're working with. We're doing a CRM assessment where we look at people, process, and technology. And it's very obvious to us that the processes are not optimal. But this company says, let's just put the technology in, and then we'll worry about the process. And I believe that's backwards. You see, if you put a technology in and it doesn't mimic a good process in terms of how you should do business, or if it's not intuitive in terms of how you do business, then people aren't going to use the technology. So typically what you do is you make sure your processes are in reasonable shape, that is, you commit to potentially process enhancement. Once you've got that process more or less worked out, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be good, you then bake it into the software. And today's software is capable with workflow engines and so forth to allow you to really drive or build or bake process directly into the software. So one of the risks is, rather than doing the process up front, which is the right way to start the CRM road